Welcome to another Tech Help video brought to you by AccessLearningZone.com. I'm your instructor, Richard Rost. Today we're going to talk about optimizing forms for loading faster, because you know you've always had that one form that's just really sluggish. It's got lots of data in it. It's based on a huge query or a very complicated set of functions, whatever, and it's just not loading fast. And then once it does load, it's still slow and sluggish. Well, in today's video, we're going to talk about it. Today's question comes from Nolan in Buena Park, California, one of my Platinum members. Nolan says, I have a form that I use to view quarterly sales summaries from my database, which contains thousands of orders. The issue is that the form is extremely slow to load and navigate between records. I suspect it might be due to the calculations I'm performing directly in the form's queries. Is there a more efficient way to enhance the performance of this form so it loads faster when I need to generate and view these sales reports? Yes, optimizing your form so that it's fast is one of the things I spend a lot of time on. And I've got a particular sales form myself that it was a continuous form that shows all of the sales grouped by date. And then I try to match it up with, all the payments that come in. And before I learned the trick that I'm going to teach you guys today, this thing not only took forever to load, but even once it was loaded, it was slow as molasses. It was like I was walking through caramel just to click from record to record. And there's a reason why, and we'll talk about it in a few minutes. Now, before we get into the main problem that's causing this, there's a checklist of things you should do first with any form and any database. Index your key fields, right? Any fields that you're going to be searching and sorting on, make sure they're indexed. There's a list of videos here on the right side there for each one of these topics, except for the last one, which we'll talk about. All right, so make sure your fields are properly indexed. Make sure that you're limiting data with criteria where possible, right? If you're doing something where, and this could matter if you've got multiple queries involved. If you've got, your final query, let's say it's based on 2 or 3 other queries. You got some criteria in there, you're doing some calculations, right? Don't do all of these steps with calculations and stuff and then make the last step the criteria where you say, okay, take this big monster query now and just give me the records from the last 30 days. Do that part first, right? The first step should be, okay, take all these orders and just give me the ones from the past 30 days. Now the next step can be do your calculations and your aggregates and all that stuff. So limit the data with criteria first before doing all your calculations. Next, of course, compact and repair. Do it regularly. I have an event that runs nightly in my database. Use a split database, even if you're the only user. Sometimes you can get a speed boost by using a split database. Why? That's just one of the access quirks. If it's a matter of the form, when you click the button and it takes forever for the form to appear, that I've got a separate video on, and you can watch that one. That'll give you the appearance of loading faster, right? Essentially what it does is it pops the form up, then you use a timer event to load the data in the background. But we're going to get around that one today. That's just another idea. And then, of course, optimize your queries, right? If you got 6 queries when 3 will do the job, do that. If you've got functions that you can, simplify, do that. You got data in there that you don't need, get rid of it, all right? So there's a lot of optimizing steps too if stuff's running slow. All right, but the main problem that we're dealing with is that if you've got, let's say, a continuous form, right? It displays a large amount of data, and that data is coming from queries that have numerous calculations, aggregates, lookups. It can significantly slow down the performance of the form. Not only does it load slower, but once it's open, it will still be sluggish. All right, and this is because Access has to rerun complex calculations when the form is loaded, when you navigate between records, and so on. Why? Again, it's just the way that the Access is built, right? If all that work is done in the form somehow uses up a lot of memory and it just acts slow. Now, the solution to improve performance of your big forms like that is to take all the complex calculations in the queries, right? Aggregates, whatever, functions, run them beforehand, before the form is loaded, and we're going to store those results in a temporary table. Okay, that's the key. So instead of having the form's record source rely on these big resource-intensive operations and these gigantic queries that slow things down, we're going to execute some action queries ahead of time. It's going to summarize, transform the data, run your aggregates, all that stuff, save all that data that you want to see into a temporary table. Then we'll make the temporary table the record source for our form. It'll be read-only, but generally you just want to see data, right? This way the form will load more quickly, and it will simply pull in the quick data from that temporary table, and all the calculations are already run. This will significantly boost the performance of the form. Now, I do have to pause and talk about this image. I asked AI, I asked GPT to make me some images. It made a pretty cool one here, right? I said, give me a whole bunch of data and stuff going into a form, and that's pretty cool. And then for this one, I said, okay, make me a picture of all the complex queries and stuff feeding a temporary table, and then it got that calculations and temporary table, right? And then I said, and then use the temporary table as the record source for a form, and then maybe just like have an arrow go to the table in the form, and the form is happy and pretty and use bright colors. That's what I said to it. I guess the form is all happy and pretty and is bright colors. I got a good laugh. I had to use it. I had to share it with you guys. All right, so before we get into it, this will be a developer level video. Now you can do this without programming. You could manually run some action queries. You'll need a make table query once, and then a delete query and an update query or an append query. And so you can do this without programming, or you could write a macro, but I think this is much easier to do with a little bit of VBA. So if you've never done any VBA programming before, go watch this video. It'll teach you everything you need to know about VBA in about 20 minutes to get started, to follow along. And of course, we're going to use a little SQL. So if you're not too familiar with SQL, go watch this video and make sure you understand what the different action queries are. We're going to use a delete query, a make table query, and an append query today. So there's links here to different videos that teach you about those. All right, so here I am in my Tech Help free template. This is a free database that you can download off of my website if you'd like to. Now, let's say in here, I've already got a customer list. All right, customer list form has got all my customers in it. And I only got 33 customers and a couple of dozen orders. Again, this really takes into consideration gigantic databases, right? You got tens of thousands of customers, hundreds of thousands of orders maybe. You're pulling data over the network, so it's going to be running slow. Obviously, it's going to run fast on my machine, and it's difficult to simulate that stuff, but you get the point, right? I'm sure you've all run into forms before that run really slow. So each customer has orders, right? Have multiple orders. And let's say that I want to generate a list on this form. Let's say I want to do sales summary information. I want to put, instead of credit limit over here, I want to replace this with the customer's total worth, right? The sum total of all the orders ever placed. Now, if you've got a lot of data in your database, calculating that number for each customer in here can take a long time. And this is just a simple example. Now, you definitely do not want to do it with a dsum in a continuous form. That's the slowest way to do it. Try to avoid all of the domain aggregate functions in a continuous form or in a query, right? We have something that's much, much better called an aggregate query, right? These are much, much better and faster than using the domain functions. Domain functions are good for like a single form. Like if you open up the customer's form and you want to put down here like this customer's total sales, that's fine. But don't put them in continuous forms. They take way too long to load. Now, I already have another query here called order summary queue, and I build this in the invoicing video, where this basically is an aggregate query that gives you the order total for each order. So order 1, there's the total for that. Because remember, the total is based on the sum of all the line items, right? So now I have this query. I can do another aggregate query based on this one to give me the sum for each customer because I got the customer ID right there. Right? So if I aggregate this and group it by customer ID, it should add those together. So customer 1 should be about 3560, right? Well, this one's not paid too. Let's pretend we're dealing with all the orders instead of just the paid ones. So I'm going to come in here and create another query. So create query design. Let's bring in the order summary queue. And then I need the customer ID first. And we'll bring in is paid. Why not? Is paid, and then the order total. And then we're going to turn this into an aggregate query, turn the totals on, and this will be set to sum. If you want paid only, put criteria down here is true for is paid. And now when I run it, there you go. Let's get rid of that criteria. Let's just get rid of this here. We'll just do the total of all their orders, whether they're paid or not, so we have more data. Okay, there we go. Okay. Now let's bring in the other fields that I need for my continuous form out here, right? I need the first name, last name, and we'll get rid of state and customer sense. So let's save this guy. We'll call this the order summary by customer queue. Okay, which is just customer ID and order total. But now I can bring that order total into another query and set up a, let's call it the customer worth query. So create query design, and this will be the query that feeds that form, right? So we'll bring in the query we just built. We'll link to that, the customer table, which is right here. You can bring from both, either over here or over here. Depends on what I'm doing. Let's flip this around like this, right? Because we want the customers first. I'm going to need the ID, the first name, the last name. Let's bring over sum of order total, but I don't want it to be called sum of order total. Let's alias this and call it worth, colon. It's just worth, colon, and then the field name. It's called an alias. All right, I got a video on aliasing. I'll put a link to that down below as well. We also want to make sure we don't miss anybody. So we're going to make this into an outer join. I want all the records from customer T, all the customers, and the ones over here that match, because you're only going to be in this query if you have an order in the system, right? We don't want to miss anybody. So hit OK. That should be look like that then. And now when I run this bad boy, there you go. There's all the customers and the worth of the ones that have a value. Okay. All right. Back to design view. Let's save this guy. We'll call this the customer worth queue. Now, this is the query that I can use to fill in the customer list form, this thing. So to do this, we'll come in here, design view. We decided we're going to get rid of state and customer sense. So I'll slide this over to the left here like that. And we're going to change the record source to that new query that we just built, which is customer worth queue. Now, immediately you can see credit limit goes green, right? That's because there's no credit limit field in that query. So we're going to change this now to worth. And don't forget to also change the name of the box, worth and worth. And then, of course, down here, we want the sum of worth. We'll call this sum worth. And, of course, change our label. Worth. Okay, and you don't want to let your customers see this form. You might not want to let your other employees see this form. Okay, so now if I close it and open it, there we go. It's working, and it's working just fine. But again, this is a tiny database with only 33 customers in it and a couple of dozen orders. You get the point, though, right? This is based on a query, which is based on an aggregate query, which is based on another query, which is based on another query. And if this was all running with hundreds of thousands of records over a network, this form could take 30 seconds to load, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to replace this by doing all the queries and the calculations and stuff in the background. We're going to give the user a nice friendly, please wait message. And then we're going to feed a temporary table that this thing's based on and then open the form. And we'll do all of that in tomorrow's video. So tune in tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel. I love that. Or if you're a member, you're going to watch it right now because I'm going to record it in just a few minutes. Alrighty. Okay. So that's going to be your tech help video for today. Hope you learned something. Live long and prosper, my friends. I'll see you tomorrow for part 2. A special thank you and shout out to our diamond sponsors. First, we have Juan Soto with Access Experts Software Solutions, manufacturing experts specializing in Access and SQL Server. Juan is a 13-time Microsoft Access MVP. You can check them out at accessexperts.com. Another shout out to Sammy Shama from Shama Consultancy. Sammy is a certified Microsoft Office specialist, and he not only offers Access application development, but he also provides one-on-one tutoring services. So if you need someone to hold your hand and help you with your Access project, Sammy is your guy. Check him out at shamaconsultancy.com. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up and post any comments you may have below. I do try to read and answer all of them as soon as I can. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, which is completely free. Click the bell icon and select all to receive notifications when new videos are posted. Want to learn more? Click the Show More link below the video to find additional resources and links. YouTube does a pretty good job of hiding it. It's right down there. See this part of the description here, right? The name, the video's up here. There's a little show more down there, right down the bottom. It's kind of hard to find. But once you click on that, you'll see a list of other videos, additional information related to the current topic, free lessons, and lots more. And YouTube no longer sends out email notifications when new videos are posted like they used to do. But if you'd like to get an email every time I post a new video, click on the link to join my mailing list. And you can pick how frequently to get emails from me, either as they happen, daily, weekly, or monthly. Now, if you'd like to become a paid member of my channel and receive all kinds of awesome perks, click on the join button. You'll see a list of all the different membership levels that are available, each with its own special perks, including my extended cut videos, access to my code vault, lots of VBA source code in there, template downloads, and lots more. I'll talk more about these perks at the end of the video. Even if you don't want to commit to becoming a paid member and you'd like to help support my work, please feel free to click on the tip jar link. Your patronage is greatly appreciated and will help keep these free videos coming. I got some puppies to feed. But don't worry, no matter what, these free tech help videos are going to keep coming. As long as you keep watching them, I'll keep making more, and they'll always be free. Now, if you really want to learn Access and you haven't tried my free Access Level 1 course, check it out now. It covers all the basics of Microsoft Access, including building forms, queries, reports, and more. It's over 4 hours long. You can find it on my website or on my YouTube channel. I'll put a link down below you can click on. And did I mention it's completely free? The whole thing, free, 4 hours. Go watch it. And okay, a lot of you have told me that you don't have time to sit through a 4-hour course. So I do now have a quicker Microsoft Access for Beginners video that covers all the basics faster in about 30 minutes. And no, I didn't just put the video on fast forward. But I'll put a link to this down below as well. Now, if you like level 1, level 2 is just $1. That's it, $1. And that's another whole 90-minute course. Level 2 is also free for paid members of any level, including supporters. So if you're a member, go watch level 2. It's free. Okay, want to get your question answered in a video just like this one? Visit my tech help page and send me your question there. Members get priority, of course. While I do try to read and respond to all of the comments posted below in the comments section, I only have time to go through them briefly a couple of times a month, and sometimes I get thousands of them. So send me your question here on the tech help page, and you'll have a better chance of getting it answered. And while you're on my website, be sure to stop by my Access forum. We've got lots of lively conversations about Microsoft Access and other topics. I have a fantastic group of moderators who help me answer questions. Shout out to Alex, Kevin, Scott, Adam, John, Dan, Juan, and everybody else who helps out on the site. I appreciate everything you do. I couldn't do it without you. Be sure to follow my blog, find me on Twitter, and of course on YouTube. Yeah, I'm on Facebook too, but I don't like Facebook. Don't get me started. Now, let's talk more about those member perks if you do decide to join as a paid member. There are different levels: Silver, Gold, Platinum, and Diamond. Silver members and up get access to all of my extended cut tech help videos, one free beginner class every month, and some other perks. Gold members get all the previous perks, plus access to download the sample databases that I build in my tech help videos, plus access to my code vault where I keep tons of different functions that I use, the code that I build in most of the videos. You'll also get higher priority if you do submit any tech help questions. Now, answers are never guaranteed, but you do go higher in the list for me to read them. And if I like your question, you got a good chance of it being answered. You'll also get one free expert level class each month after you've finished the beginner series. Platinum members get all the previous perks plus even higher priority for tech help questions. You get access to all of my full beginner level courses for every subject. And I cover lots of different subjects like Word, Excel, VBA, ASP, lots of different stuff, not just Access. These are the full-length courses found on my website. You get all the beginner ones. In addition, once you finish the expert classes, you get one free developer class per month. So lots of training. And finally, you can also become a diamond sponsor. You'll have your name or your company name listed on a sponsors page that will be shown on each video as long as you're a sponsor. You'll get a shout out in the video and a link to your website or product in the text below the video and on my website. So that's it. Once again, my name is Richard Rost. Thank you for watching this video brought to you by accesslearningzone.com. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something today. Live long and prosper, my friends. I'll see you again soon.